Hey everybody, it's the Goodly Dragon here, hoping again, as always, to spark fire with words, and in today's video I am going to be participating in the Message to Feminists meme, wherein you're supposed to give a brief, one sentence long or so, message to feminists. And in my case, I've actually chosen to give them a message that I think would help them further their cause, which is strange because that is counter to my goals, but I think people probably won't even listen anyway. It doesn't matter. Just gonna give my 2 cents. Yeah, so stop being violent. Of course, if I say that, people respond, are you saying that feminists are violent? How can you generalize? Generalizing is bad. Unless you're generalizing somebody in a nice way, then it's good. Yeah, I am. I'm saying that feminists, by and large, are extremely violent people, and that by and large, it's a very violent movement. And that seems like a bold statement, but I just think it's obvious. If you look at what's been happening recently, I think the reason for this budding cultural paradigm shift is actually just a matter of technology having changed, cameras being omnipresent, or not quite omnipresent, but fairly ubiquitous, and the violence more often than before being caught on camera. So the movement, of course, is losing face, and that's why we see so many fucking damage control videos. Every other feminist video is, well, look at the definition. The definition of feminism says equality of the sexes, and it doesn't explicitly state anything about hating men or being violent. Therefore, we don't hate men and we're not violent. And if you're not a complete brain-dead bumbling idiot, you can see the obvious, apparent, logical flaw in that, shall we say, reasoning. Now, see, what partially started off my journey was I saw footage of the events in Ottawa, at the University of Ottawa in Canada, wherein a very mild-mannered professor, one of those kind of touchy-feely, in touch with your feminine side, would never harm a fly kind of guys, wanted to give a pretty innocuous talk on the problems facing men and boys in society, and the gender studies teachers sent their students out to form angry mobs, and so they blockaded the auditorium, outside the entrance to it, and they started physically intimidating the attendees before they could get in, getting up in them, screaming at their faces, calling them fucking scum, and largely, see, feminism operates basically on two things, and this is going to be relevant. I'm going to tie it back in. One, lies slash half-truths. So let's say something like that women make 77 cents on the dollar, and of course, without explaining it, it's deliberately misinformative. You're supposed to think that means that women make 77 cents on the dollar for the same job, and some of them who are particularly ignorant do get up there and say that, adding the for the same job part. And so anyway, they, in this case, took Oh, yeah, one of the things is lies, and the other thing is shame. That is, making people feel guilt or ashamed for supposedly being so-called misogynists and just being terrified to speak up. So in any case, now I'm tying that back in. So they had taken a few things that this guy, Warren Farrell, had said way out of context, and they were saying that he was promoting rape and all of this nonsense that was completely pulled out of their asses. And this is why they're so angry and aggressive, because they believe that reality is something very different to what it actually is. So they think they have a real reason to be angry. And that's why I can kind of empathize with them, because if the world really was this place where 1 in 4 women were raped, and the rate of rape in America is higher than the Congo at the height of the Civil War, then okay, yeah, you would have a point. But of course, that's why it has to operate based on lies. And that's why people are so angry and they get so vicious. Now, with that one video, I know particularly if any of my cousins were watching, they're probably screaming that I'm generalizing based on one event. Well, actually, I'm not, and that is the point I'm trying to address now. So, recently, there has been an explosion of these videos of violence coming from feminist angry mobs, and it's becoming a more frequent thing. So I'm not saying that the mobs are becoming more frequent. I'm saying that footage being available of it is becoming more frequent because more smartphones are being proliferated. So there was that event recently in Argentina where some huge angry mob of feminists wanted to vandalize a church. So they formed this huge angry mob, and they started intimidating all the people who were trying to stand and block them to defend their church. You might say, what, am I advocating for human blockades now? Well, the first human blockade was to prevent people from going to watch a lecture they paid to see because you disagree with the ideas being said. This human blockade is about just blocking the entrance of people trying to destroy your church that you cherish. I'm an atheist. Not that that's relevant, but inevitably someone in the comment is going to yell, you Bible thumper. No. It's about principles. They have their collective property of that municipality. It's a landmark that they love, and they didn't want to see it destroyed. So they were standing there, and these angry, vicious harpies were just screaming in their face and just getting so violent. If any movement of men ever acted like that, their reputation would be shot. It couldn't be salvaged. But there's a limit where even a movement that's largely women could lose face by acting like crazy, ignorant-ass motherfuckers. So, yeah. Okay, so let's be real here. Okay, so yeah, there's that. And now, well, there's just become a plethora of these videos available. And now I'm going to go back and talk about before smartphones. So I'm going to link to a video below where a woman wanted to give a talk on female pedophilia, and the feminists in her university said that they couldn't have that. You could, of course, talk about female pedophilia, but only if the women were the puppets of the men. Because according to actual feminist theory, not the definition. Please, if you still think that definition argument is valid, leave. I don't want to talk to you. You are dense as a fucking wall. I don't care. Anyway, so according to what feminism actually is, according to actual feminist ideology, women are basically always acted upon, and they can never be actors and agents. So yeah, a female pedophile, that's fine as long as the women aren't actually responsible for their own actions, and a man is pulling the string. So she wanted to give her talk on female pedophilia, and she was just interrupted by an angry, vicious, aggressive mob of feminists. So it happened before, but those words, they don't mean anything to you if I just say them out loud. You're just like, alright, yeah, so there was a mob, right? But the abstract idea of violence doesn't really bother anyone. You can talk about statistics of murder rates. No one feels in their heart of hearts. But when it actually comes down to it, when there's actual footage, it hits you. You're like, alright, violence isn't like this abstract concept, it's something that's real. So that's why all of these videos are now coming out with damage control. The definition of feminism is equality, therefore... The definition of feminism is equality of the sexes, and nowhere in this short definition does it say anything about hating men or about being violent. Therefore, our movement cannot have within it a strong current of hating men or being violent. Which, if you think that logically follows, you're a moron. I don't even want to talk to you. Like, just leave this country. We have enough dumb people as it is. I don't know. It's not really fruitful trying to make these arguments because people are just, they have their ideology and they don't really care. And they're not going to try to look at things for what they actually are. There is one thing that gives me a little hope, and that is Milo Yiannopoulos. Even though I largely disagree with Milo on a lot of stuff, I don't believe in so-called free market economics being taken to the extreme and whatever. But yeah, that's Milo has his opinions. Some more founded than others. That's okay. But he's been going around America, giving these lectures, and he is a professional provocateur. So other people, such as my brother, see Milo's tactics and think Milo's statements and his tactics, not violent tactics, his tactics of how he chooses his words and such, and think, well, that's very counterproductive. Why are you just going on stage and saying inflammatory things like feminism is cancer? I don't want to be just saying inflammatory things like that. For my purposes, it's not useful. Everyone's just shocked and they're like, my feelings, whatever. But there is a reason why Milo is doing this. The reason why Milo is doing this is because if he says something like feminism is cancer, I don't know, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, it doesn't matter. But it's certainly not a reason to lose your mind and become a violent, angry, irrational lunatic. So he goes and he gives these talks, and people in the audience, they form blockades, they intimidate the attendees, sometimes they physically assault them, and they just, they shout. And all you have to do is bring a camera, and you catch it on camera, and it just becomes harder and harder to defend their reputation, because they show that they're not capable of sitting down and having a proper adult debate and trying to defend their ideas in, a reasonable, civilized, civil manner. They just lose their minds and get violent and act and form angry mobs and stuff. So with that one event in Ottawa, it was very easy to. And at the start of this video, you were saying, "Oh, you're just taking one event and you're trying to generalize them all in one event." No, when this happens over and over consistently, when he has these events and it's caught on camera. People like, I don't know her real name, so I'm sorry, I'm going to use the name that the internet dubbed her, Trigglypuff, just start screaming stuff. Just, get your hate speech out of this campus, but more shrill and angry, and Christina Hoff Sommers was on the stage and was trying to calm her down and trying to talk to her like, rational human beings, and yes, she is unattractive, and unfortunately, since this is the internet, people have been making it a little bit about her appearance. I don't condone that. I think personally anti-feminists should stop calling male feminists manginas. That's extremely unproductive. Just try to understand that even though these people are ideologically driven, they are human beings. We all have that. We are all capable of shutting off our minds and imbibing some propaganda and becoming crazy. Look, religion is everywhere in the world, and it takes multiple different forms. So one form of religion has been declining, right? You can't. And again, I'm an atheist. I'm glad you can't teach creationism in school. Good. I do not want creationism to be taught in school. But as we see this decline in Judeo-Christian religions, you can't teach creationism in school, but you can teach feminist theory that frankly has no more serious claim to intellectual validity. That is actually it's just a web of mental gymnastics that are based on fundamental lies, like the observation of how men and women interact in society. Supposedly it's a class struggle where the men are the bourgeois and the women are the proletariats, and the men push down the women and make them second-class citizens, and that wife equals house nigger, which it's just nonsense. So everything that follows from it is invalid. And then there are the half truths like the wage gap, and then the outright lies like the 1 in 4 women get raped. So one thing that makes me think that Milo's work might be paying off is they can get away with that. They were actually, despite their best attempts to censor people and intimidate people with violence into submitting and shutting up, they were being criticized for the 1 in 4 women get raped. Really, you're saying that our rape rate in the United States is higher than the war-torn Congo in the middle of the Civil War, where rape was literally being used as a tactic of war? Really, that's your position. You think that is tenable? So they have to step back a little. No, actually, it's not 1 in 4. It's 1 in 5. It's still a lie, it's still nonsense, but they are having to adjust. They can't be as ridiculous anymore, and that is in part because they're losing face. They have to come out with all of these damage control videos. Feminism is only equality. Forget about this huge body of feminist theory like rape culture. Look up rape culture in any encyclopedia, and it says that it's a feminist idea Really, there's nothing about rape culture in Webster's definition of feminism. It's just idiotic. But I'm getting off the point. The point of this was violence. Yeah, you gotta stop being violent because you're gonna lose face. Frankly, I don't care. Fuck y'all. I want your movement to die, but I mean, I do care in one sense. I don't want people to be hurt by you, but if people must be hurt by you, I'm glad it's being captured on camera and that when you show your true faces, it's not just seen by a couple people who happen to be in the crowd, that it's seen by the world at large, that those videos go viral. I'm glad. Your movement is terrible, and I know that often you have good intentions and that you really do think that the world has these problems which need to be fixed. But you're doing more harm than good. You really, really are. And I'm so glad that you're being exposed right now. But what do I know? I don't buy your definition soundbite, so I mustn't necessarily be an ignorant, illiterate redneck or whatever you'll portray people who disagree with you as. So yeah, if you stop being violent, you do have a chance to improve your PR. The reason why your PR is suffering is because you deserve the reputation that you have. You deserve the reputation you have because your actions have earned you the reputation. It's not because so many young women don't know the definition. Everybody knows the definition. Katy Perry was not ignorant of what the definition was. And all of these other female celebrities who are pressed and asked if they're a feminist or not, and then when they say no, there's this huge shitstorm of a gazillion articles telling them that they're ignorant of the definition. No, they know what the definition of feminism is. They're not ignorant. They don't want to associate with your movement because your movement has done actions that have earned you your reputation rightfully. And so, if you are going to practice damage control with all of this stuff about the definition, then you have to save face by reducing the amount of violence and viciousness and vitriol coming from your movement. Because again, you deserve your reputation because you earned it. You reap what you sow. And I have lost friends saying this. I don't care if my friends cannot step back and look at the situation. I mean, they're ideologues. I don't even know if it makes sense to bother with them. I don't know. I'm just confused. It's really kind of pointless trying to convince anybody, but yeah, for what it's worth, those are my thoughts. Goodly Dragon here, hoping to spark fire with words. Tell me if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you think that I have a little dick, because that will further our discussion, right? That will be conducive to a conductive debate. Yes. Just like Donald Trump, I have little hands, therefore my argument is invalid. I do wear glasses, so I'm nearsighted. Call me a nerd or something. Have a good day. Bye.